So we've just really walked a short distance down the hill from the trailhead, and this is the first intersection point you come to. You can walk across the arroyo to go to some additional trails, but as I mentioned, we're going to be turning right to go east toward the Organ Mountains. And you can see that trail sign there that says you can go either left or right. I'll walk up to it a little bit more. I know the lighting isn't great, but there's the marker. And there is our destination pathway. So here we've ventured a little bit south of the arroyo, so this is not really along the trail that you would be taking to go east. I'm actually facing west right now. And there's a little side canyon that you can see there. Right in the middle of the view there is a rock formation, a hoodoo, which is nicely illuminated by the rising sun. And we're going to walk into this little side canyon. You'll notice it's not really a nicely cleared or established trail, but that's okay. I really love these little spots and really encourage people, if they're hiking like this, if they see something kind of interesting that catches their eye, just take an extra minute and go off and do some exploring. Try to experience some of the wonder that southern New Mexico has to offer. I remember when I first started doing this, I had been surprised because I had been living in Las Cruces for a while, and I had no idea that I was just a few miles away from places like this. This seems to suggest we go this way. I know, you can actually just go straight up that. But it looks like that's eroding out. And if people keep going that way, it's just going to wash out completely. But if you do these hairpin curves, you don't get as much erosion. And it's a little easier on the legs too.
You're like, I'm gonna fall.
Oh God. Yeah. You have an active imagination. But which I think in some ways is good, because you do want to be able to anticipate those hazards.
Yeah, I know what's under those leaves, but some people might not.
Right. Well, yeah, and it's kind of nice actually to know what the hazards are. I'm gonna don't want anyone stepping on that cactus.
Oh, yeah.
It was here first. And that, I think, is a little ocotillo. It certainly has a pricker like one. Yeah. All right, so in order to really understand this trail system, this is one point that you really want to know about. We had gone through the arroyo south of the mountain and turned left to come up the trail that loops around to the east side of the mountain. And at this point, you get to a junction. And there are actually three different ways to go. If you go left, it takes you on a trail that goes up there. If you go straight, it takes you a little bit further north and then eventually loops around to go up the north side, or really the northeast side of the mountain. And if you turn right, where Chrissy is, it looks like it's going to take you back towards Shalom Colony Road and the Rio Grande Valley, but it actually loops around and goes into the arroyo that goes north of the mountain. And so if you want to go all the way around the mountain, that's the way you go. If you want to go up to, let's see, that's the way you go. If you want to go up the northeast trail, you go that way. And there's a trail marker there. If you go up and take a look at it and turn left here, that's the most direct way up to the top of Picacho Mountain. I am now 1.97 miles from the trailhead, heading up the east trail, with the destination being the top of Picacho Mountain. Just going to record this section here. And also those rock formations. Those are sort of landmarks you can use if you happen to wander off the trail on your way here. If you head towards those landmarks, you'll eventually find the trail and get up to the top of the mountain. Look around a bit, you'll see some ocotillos, which are always nice, and in fact they are starting to turn yellow with the fall. They're not always leafed out at this time of year, so we're kind of fortunate to be able to see that. And looking east, you see the Oregon Mountains. You can see A Mountain, also known as Tortugas, which is a common hiking destination, and of course there are many trails in the Oregon Mountains. Then northeast you see the Doniana Mountains. Again, many fine hiking areas out there, although the area is getting a little trashy because of well, people who don't respect the environment. And straight to the north, you probably can't see it in the video, but there are a couple of jeep trails up there, and that is headed toward the prehistoric trackways area. But today we're just going to be going up this East Picacho Mountain trail. Now I am somewhere near the top of Picacho Mountain. I'm facing west. I'm going to pan around a little bit. Right now I'm facing Magdalena Peak. Probably can't see it in the video, but there's a little radar dome up there. It's a good visual landmark. In the Robledos Mountains, you can see the Trackways trail system. And there you see the Doniana Mountains and the fertile Rio Grande Valley, which is producing pecans and chili, probably some various other crops too, which they're still able to do. Of course, a couple more decades of drought and it's going to be a different picture. I think I'll go ahead and leave the camera on and record the final approach up to the peak. So off to the right, that is a trail that goes to the trail that goes up the south side of the mountain, and that's probably the way we're going to go down from this particular hike. And if you feel like you can go straight up those rocks, isn't really a trail. I prefer to take the more established route, which is sort of a trail that way. That way I'm not causing quite as much erosion in this sensitive area. All right. Very close to the peak here. Nice view of the Oregon Mountains. I'm sure it's a little degraded by looking straight into the sun. Nice morning sun. which I certainly appreciate. There's a view of the Picacho Hills subdivision. You can see the loop road. It's all laid out for future construction, which may or may not ever happen, depending on whether we're able to recover from the current recession. You can see there the Sleeping Lady Mountains. She's still sleeping, has been for quite some time. The Rough and Ready Mountains are there between us and Magdalena Peak. There's a tourist, and you would be able to see some sunlight gleaming off the Rio Grande from this vantage point normally, but the river, of course, is completely dry at this time of year. They're making some kind of effort to save a little bit at Elephant Butte, and so maybe there will be some there for future generations. Personally, I doubt it, but I try not to be too terribly pessimistic. Anyway, I'm really enjoying this view from the top. I'll stop recording. Alright, so at this point, just past the top of Picacho Mountain, and the trail I'm on is fairly horizontal as you go from the peak and work your way west toward the trail that we're taking down. Right now I'm facing more or less west. You can see Sleeping Lady Mountain on the horizon. If I pan around a little bit, you're looking down that way, you might be able to see the parking lot, and you might be able to discern the trail that we're going to take and the subdivision beyond that. And you might be able to see the West Mesa Industrial Park, which has a big water tower. And you might be able to discern some of the airport facilities. My guess is it's probably too indistinct in the video to see those things. I'm going to go along this trail a little bit more to the point where the descent begins. And I think just for fun, I'm going to then put the camera into warp speed mode and record the trip down. But even though the camera has this image stabilization function, which kind of helps, it's a pretty rough path, and people with sensitive stomachs may not want to watch that warp speed section. In any case, this is a very scenic area. You can see quite a bit of vegetation here. Let's see. That plant out in that area is sodal. Looks like yucca, but it's not. You can see the ocotillo. There's a fishhook barrel cactus. It's very scenic. I love those little things. Sometimes they're not so little, by the way. You'll notice the trail here does quite a few hairpins. And some people choose to take a more direct route up and down. When you do that, however, you are encouraging a little bit more erosion. So it's actually gentler for these natural areas to follow the hairpin trails. It's also a little easier on your quadriceps and your knees when you do that. straight ahead, there is a rock formation which is a bit of a landmark. People often stop there and rest on their way up. Don't see any humans now. Oh, actually there are a couple. There are a couple of humans traveling toward us. So I'll take that into account. I always like to step well off the trail. Since we are still in the middle of a pandemic, I don't want to get too close to people. Even though we're outdoors and even though we're in a high desert area with very intense UV radiation, which tends to degrade viral particles, still like to keep my distance. So this is a recording showing me going down the south trail toward the trail junctions. And I'll pause and explain. We see another hiker coming toward me. So I'm probably going to step off the trail just because of social distancing. That's just the way I'm doing things these days. And you can see Chris is standing on a trail there. That trail goes off to the east, around the east side of the mountain. Normally, one would be coming down the south trail here. And the reason I'm recording this is to clearly show how the trail junctions work here. So, the trail to the east, the South Arroyo, which is what we came in through, go down a little bit of ways to this next trail marker, and you see a trail that goes west, and if you want to go around the mountain, you go that way. If you want to go to Box Canyon, that's one of the ways to go there. And then here is the South Arroyo. You can go east or west here. I'm going to pause. This is an Apache plume, which has put on another set of blossoms. It's treating us there. And then this is the trail that goes back up to the parking lot.